So now that I've had the Pixel 2 for a couple of weeks, it's time for my final thoughts on it. My initial impressions of it were very mixed overall. Google is asking quite a lot for a phone that's merely a software phone. It's built decently, it's just not built as well as far as feature goes as the phone's in its price range. You get this matte finish back, which, yes, it does provide some grip, it's just not as premium feeling. But my case hides that, so that's not as huge of a deal for me. And wireless charging is something, despite giving it a try on my other devices, I keep just reverting back to plugging most of them in. Really not a fan. I still never really got used to this button placement here. I wish the volume rocker was at least over here, so even though it being high, I could find it easier. And my case does help with that because it raises the power button and flushes these two. So with the case, not as bad. Without, I don't like it. Odd choice to me. Maybe there's a reason for it, I just don't know what it is. And of course, you've got these large bezels, top and bottom, that house the front-facing speakers, which are fairly adequate, but there's not a whole lot to them. Yes, there's a little bit of, they're loud, but there's not much else going on. It's mainly just highs, and yes, they are front-facing, so it's better than, like my Note 8, I constantly cover up the port on the bottom. You don't have that issue with these, but my iPhone 8 Plus easily beats these with a downfiring and an earpiece. So I wish with the real estate taken up they were a little better, but unfortunately they're not. The always on display I do like, and even though it is a little bit of a battery drain, it's something I enjoy. It does have an LED indicator, believe it or not, if you did want to save some life, but I hate kind of having to watch to see, do I have a notification? Oh, yep, it flashed. Okay, now I can unlock. No. Or you could do tap the wake as well, it does have that, but I prefer the always on display. And with using that, my battery life has been 5 to 6 hours on average. I have somehow made it to 7 more than once. Still not quite sure how I did that, but I would say on average, you're probably, like I said, around 5 to 6, depending on your usage. The display itself is where I start to get a little bit more disappointed with this phone. It's got a polarized coating, which does me absolutely no good for the most part, 90% of the time. Just because I don't go around wearing sunglasses all the time just because the sun's up, and yet I've got to look at this rainbow display anytime the sun hits it, and it's also pretty dim. So the display on this, despite when you're indoors being, my fingerprint, I always have a hard time getting that lined up there. You know, it's fairly plain Jane, nothing special. Outdoors, it really starts to show it is not that great. It is very dim, like I said, and I hate that coating that's on it. Although it doesn't smudge up, obviously that's a different type coating. I forget the word. It starts with an O. Put it that way. But it doesn't smudge real bad, they wipe off fairly easily, but that polarized coating is a very, very big disappointment, and the dimness of this display. Software-wise, there's a whole lot of nice little touches to it, which I do like, and I just feel like my other phones don't have that. Like little things, like even though I've wiped this phone so I don't have my alarm on it, you know, it shows that your alarm would be on down there. Even setting the alarm itself was kind of neat. Let's see here. If you go to, it's got little, and I'm not really sure if my other phones did that. I've never really noticed it, but it's little small tweaks like that that just make for a little bit better experience. This phone has enough features for me. It's not super boring like the Essential. They're just a couple of extra little touches that make for a better experience, and the camera, of course, is probably the best on the market right now. I actually showed this phone to some co-workers, and most of them are Apple users, were very surprised that a phone they'd never even, for the most part, heard of was better than what they had. So yes, there are phones that perform better than Apple's. in case you didn't know. So I'm very impressed by the camera, especially the front facing. The portrait mode is very good. I really do like that. And like I said, no real issues with the software. It has enough features for me. The Now Playing feature, which is another little add-on there, works well for the first song. It is accurate and it is pretty quick. It only takes a couple of seconds. However, if you change the dial, it doesn't register the next song, at least not very quickly. You may actually be on your third song before it starts picking up what's coming on next. Hopefully that can be just a little bit of extra tweaking, can be fixed and make it a whole lot better, because I do like using Shazam, but having that built in, a stock feature that's just as good, is kind of nice. My overall, though, impressions, I'm still kind of mixed on this phone. If it were, say, $100 cheaper than it was, or is, I would have no problems probably recommending that, despite it having this very dated look from the front. Because the overall package is something that I used to really like, as in when I had my iPhone SE. Very similar. That phone was one of the phones that I kept for the longest at that time in my life. It was just what I needed. It fit my needs. It had good battery, good camera, and the overall experience, speakers and all, were really good on that. It had a small display, but I didn't need more than that. I could get on the internet if I needed to real quick and be done with it. Didn't do a whole lot of web browsing, social media. However, times have changed. And having this 5-inch display, despite being very one-handed friendly, it just got me on edge on whether I should maybe have gotten the bigger one. And I'm still kind of on the edge, but the other one has some display issues worse than this being out in the sunlight, which I can kind of get over a little bit, but it is still really annoying at the same time. So overall, I have a hard time, without a doubt, recommending this phone. I would say for certain users, it would be a good phone if it meets your needs. If you want a great camera, good battery life, and decent speakers, and don't mind a dated looking phone, this may be for you, as long as you're good with a 5-inch display. It's very hard to beat what you get in this package. However, if you're looking for a multimedia device, something like the Note 8, despite having much more overlay issues and probably slowdown for you, and the camera may not be as good as this one, I feel like might be a better overall package, plus the display is way better. But of course it's also a whole lot taller, so you lose that pocketability, that one-handed use goes away. So it's all in what you want. So this is a good phone overall, and I would recommend it if that fits your criteria. Until next time, later.